Alrighty, so I'm here with Vipul, one of the OGs in the Redmayne program. He's absolutely been smashing it for the last couple of years. Vipul, welcome, mate.
Thank you. Thanks, Ram. Thanks for inviting me.
No problems at all, mate. You've obviously, been doing very, very well. And for people to do well, a big part of that is obviously mindset. So I've got no doubt that you have a very strong mindset. Tell me what the why was. Why for you? Why was this something that was important for you? What made you take the plunge into property flipping?
Oh, its mindset is extremely crucial. It was a non-negotiable, and I learned very early in the process that without a right mindset, it won't be possible, and I have to get it right and not treat it as a side hustle, which many people think. Yes, technically it is a side hustle, but I've given a lot to it, and I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it, and why is when I jumped into it, and then when I started seeing the results that it is possible. Yes, people are getting deals. I got my first deal. It was like I had that feeling that I had no other option but to do it, and just go with the flow, trust the process, and take control of my life. And I've seen like good things happen with properties. How powerful it is. I've already was a property investor, but not an active one. So I had that taste of property investing, what it meant, and I already just enjoyed speaking to agents, speaking to trades, and I think it was a perfect opportunity for me to learn more and be active in this field.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Very, very good. You mentioned that about it being a side hustle, but it's not really a side hustle. It's more of a business, right? You've
It
treated
is.
it as a business.
It is.
I
Yeah.
mean, what has this provided you, in addition to your job? I mean, have you replaced your income by flipping as a business, or, where does it sort of sit alongside your full-time day job?
Yes. See, it gets a bit tough sometimes to manage it, but it comes back to the why, that how badly do you want it? Um, I I I want it quite badly, so I went all in, and it has definitely replaced an income. But we want to move gradually and just take baby steps and not uh, get too far ahead of ourselves. So I'm enjoying it as long as I'm managing both the things. Then why not?
Baby steps, but you're on track for 900,000 profit in less than 2 years.
That's yeah, it's unreal.
Mate, I just want to ask, like, obviously with mindset, what do you reckon the difference between, say, yourself and other people that don't have the same success?
I believe, as you previously mentioned, treat it as a business. It's all about the numbers game. The more you try, the more you increase your chances to land a deal. And really, if you think of it, you really need just 4 or 5 deals a year to more than substitute your day job income. And other than over that, if you have the time, still a few months in the year, then that's a bonus. That's a bonus. So it's just calling as many agents as possible, trying prospecting, doing those letters, just trying to find a deal rather than spending your energy and time in things which are not so productive. I think that's my key takeaway from this course.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you reckon the difference between, say, other than the fact that you treat it as a business, what is it about you that's maybe different to other people in that you are successful? Like, what are the key traits or character traits about you that's different to others, do you think?
Um, I think I'm pretty confident to say that I'm quite persistent, and be it prospecting all the time, or even if there were setbacks during, see, every project has its own challenges, and we face a lot many challenges in our initial projects, which we overcame again because we always reminded ourselves of the bigger picture, and that we're still doing the right thing. Yes, there were some mistakes in the renovation side of things because I wasn't too experienced in that, and when you meet some bad people on the way, that leaves a bad taste. But again, not get hung over it and just move on quickly. Again, it's a numbers game. If one person is not doing the right thing, there'll be 10 other people whom you can find. So not getting demotivated, with a few setbacks and always reminding myself of the bigger picture. I think that's I try to do always, because challenges are part of the journey, so you have to embrace them.
Absolutely. You mentioned about spending your time doing the right things. So I think what you mean by that is obviously spending, time doing things that are probably going to lead you to a deal. Whereas I think you were sort of alluding to that some people are spending time, maybe doing things that are not actually going to land them a deal. Can you go into that a bit deeper? So, what do you do? Where do you spend your time to ensure that, you're going to keep your deal pipeline full?
Yeah. So again, it's spending all. If it's about the renovation, sorry, if it's about the flipping part of it, spending most of my time and energy prospecting. Even if there are deals on the go, even if you're having a bad day with a trade, you still need to have your pulse on the ground that, okay, you are making offers, lots of feasibility, lots of offers. And outside of the flipping side of things, and really cutting my time on Netflix and things like that. And which, yes, you have to maintain that balance between work and life, but cutting any unnecessary noise, being with the right people so that you get inspired from them and not really compete with them. I think that's the energy that I want to be in, which has really helped me.
Yeah, for sure. But you come from an IT background. You've now been flipping, whilst working in IT full time. You've been flipping for nearly 2 years now. Has there been any mindset shifts along the way? Like, what have you learned about yourself over that time?
What I have learned about myself is, yes, I've been working my 9 to 5 since I started working. That's it's almost 17 years now. But the word business and doing business was quite, like, it was far off and felt very complicated and overwhelming, which I realize it's not. If we can do it the right way. In fact, there's so much control that you get over your life. You choose how to spend time with your family. You take breaks when you want. So it's it's a lot of mindset change, and I'm right now in the middle, juggling between the job and the business. But hopefully one day it'll be full time.
Yeah, awesome. You obviously work in IT, so that's a pretty good career. What was the turning point that you decided that you wanted more, and why property flipping?
Yeah, it's see, honestly, more than the money, it's as I said, it's the time that you get back. How to choose that time, how to spend your holidays. It's having that control that I really wanted, which is what attracted me towards having a business. I think that was the first thing before even I thought of flipping. That yes, there should be a business that we should be running, which will give us control and that time and flexibility that we really want, where we can live anywhere. And that's why the remote flipping part of it, that we want to be flexible, we want to travel, we want to live where we want and not have that local dependency. Which I know that it's ideally better if you can flip where you're living, but I've chosen the other path and I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, awesome. What have been some of the challenges when it comes to flipping remotely? Because obviously, like you said, most people would flip in their own backyard, but you've been absolutely killing it by flipping on the other side of the country. What have been some of the lessons from doing that?
Yeah, challenges. See, again, it's all about finding the right people. You will find deals everywhere, be it where you're living or not, or the other side of the country, doesn't matter. But it's finding the right people whom you can rely on. You're putting all your trust on them to run your project. So vetting them properly and not just going blindsided and just picking a random tradie on Facebook to run your project. That's not the right way. Making hundreds and hundreds of calls to get that feeling that yes, this is the right person, and meeting them, flying over there and meeting them, having a cup of coffee, and vetting them that yes, you can put your trust on them, seeing their work. So challenges were, yes, a few bad people on the way, which we still get. But again, having that confidence that there's enough network, there are enough. You build a great team around you who will go out of your way to make time for you. I'm pretty confident, and very grateful for those people who leave their other work to fit me in within 24 hours, which is absolute magic.
You talk about obviously the team there, and I think that's a pretty important part because you obviously relying because you can't be there. You're relying on other people to support you and deliver the project. So who are these people? Obviously, tradespeople, suppliers,
Yeah,
real estate agents. Who makes up your team when it comes to delivering a successful property flip?
yeah. My team would be a good broker if I'm going to the bank and not to the money partners to get my numbers right. A good accountant, that's with the other side of the business, but a good project manager, which is the key to flipping remotely. That's the absolute key. Having people who can inspect on your behalf, good trades, good building and pest inspectors, whom I speak on almost on a daily basis, and um, real estate agents, as you said, property managers, everyone in that area that's my farming area. I should know everyone, and just spreading that word that I'm looking for properties, I'm looking for someone to manage my properties. If I know enough of them, and just I spread the word out there, people do help because it's all about networking and relationships here. Um, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. You mentioned with the building inspector that you speak to them almost every other day. What sort of conversations are you having with the building inspector? How are they helping you every day?
They are helping me in a way. They inspect a lot of properties for me, so it's a win-win. I get because I want to make aggressive offers, so many times I do send those inspectors to inspect property on my behalf and do a building and pest inspection before I even place an offer on the property. If I have that feeling that yes, it is the right property, I want to go hard and make the offer as clean as possible for the sellers and quick and uh, act fast. That's where I use them and then lean on their advice that this is the work that's needed. What's the extent of fixing that we need to do? That's why I use the building inspectors.
Yeah, awesome. You also mentioned that you obviously travel over to where your flips are as well. So obviously, I know you're in New South Wales and you've been traveling and doing your projects in WA. So what's the importance, do you think, of traveling to go and visit your project? And are you visiting all the projects? Are you just visiting some? Are you going there to visit the property, or are you mainly going there to meet your team and your network? Like why are you traveling?
Yeah, so I've only traveled twice till now.
And how many projects have we done?
We'll be completing 10 soon.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've only traveled twice since I've started, which was early last year. And the purpose of travel, more than to see the properties, meet those people. Again, just remind them that we're just not, the relationship is not just to have a phone call or on emails. Just have a good chat with them, get to know them, and they also get to know us. And you build that again, that confidence in them and that relationship that is long lasting and it's not transactional. And I've made pretty good friends with these project managers and even some trades that I'm working with.
Yeah, awesome. Very, very good. Mate, one thing I want to dig in on is your first flip. I think for any renovator property flipper, the first deal is probably always the best or your favorite because it's new ground and it's probably a feeling that's hard to replicate because, like I said, it's your first, right? So talk to us about that first deal. How did you find that first deal? And just talk to us about that process.
Yes, first deal was very very special, and we were over the moon when I know the settlement happened when we were selling the property. So the first visit to see the project was actually to see that flip. We saw that flip when it finished. So just to give you a background, like how it all started is I started researching that farming area, checking some like how it's tracking in terms of some online data factors, but then also making calls to see what's happening on the ground. Started prospecting. Just before that, I had one deal which fell through in another area, but nearby, not too far away. That was slightly disappointing, but that even gave me that confidence that the next deal is probably around the corner. So I started going in hard, started making relationships with people, calling agents, texting, emailing them, whatever was possible and feasible on the day. And a few weeks after prospecting, I was presented this off-market opportunity, and it was a trashed place. Tenants had trashed it. The owners were quite embarrassed to take it to the market. It was so bad. it was it was a unit, but it was a house, like a survey strata unit. Technically a small house, no strata fee, and I sent, I think, a couple of people to inspect on my behalf because I was still getting that confidence that who I want to use as my trade stream. So I wasn't 100% sure at that time. So I spent two different people who inspected the property. At least I did some high level renovation numbers, asked questions in the closed community forum that this is how much would you spend on this, etc., which I was anyway learning, making offers prior to that property. I did, I don't know, I did, I don't have the count in front of me, but easily 40, 50 feasibilities prior to getting that first deal. And did some feasibility, called around the agents to get a estimated selling price, and also did my own CMA. And it turned out that it can be, I was ultra conservative in my selling price. And it turned out to be a deal for sure. It was only a matter of fact that how much profit I'm happy to work with on that one. Initially, when I was doing my FISO, it was a small profit because I was being very safe
with the
overestimating my renovation costs, underestimating the selling price. And after a bit of back and forth with the agent, we negotiated and ended up signing the contract.
Yeah, right. So what did you pay for that first deal?
It was in the 230s because it was a unit.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So 230.
In a low socio area, I think 235.
And also it was a regional area down in
regional area, trash place, a unit. So that's why it was cheap.
Yep, 230. And so the renovation price?
Renovation was 70,000.
70,000. And then what did you sell that one for?
We sold it for 465.
465. Okay, so first deal after all costs, so after your purchase costs, after your holding costs, after your selling costs, after all costs, what was the profit on that first deal?
120,000.
120 grand. And how did that feel walking away with
that was when we did the feasibility, we didn't even estimate half of it because, as I said, we were ultra conservative, and the market definitely helped a bit as well. But even if there was no market growth, we would have been pretty happy. But we went to see the property. We went to the home open of that property and saw the place that this is what we've renovated. So we were very proud of ourselves and very grateful to the people who renovated for us and the project manager. And it was a great feeling. And yeah, we were really happy.
Yeah, I bet. Right, so tell me about the lessons on that project, though. So obviously you can do all the, you did the coaching program, you can do all the, the coursework and listen to coaching sessions and all that sort of stuff. But there's obviously a lot of lessons learned actually delivering a project, and you were doing it remotely, so an even bigger challenge. But what were the lessons from that first project for you that really stood out?
Lesson was, if I had taken too much time just vetting every renovation cost, how much would the, say, kitchen would cost me, a bathroom cost me, and just if I went to the T of getting every quote, I would have lost the deal, to be honest. So it was speed and action, just getting the deal, trusting the process. The market was pretty healthy. It doesn't, if you spend a couple of weeks in the market, if you're local, going to the home opens, if you're not, calling those agents, seeing what's happening on real estate, how soon the properties are going under offer, it gives you a pretty healthy feeling that, yes, it'll take maybe 1 or 2 weeks to sell the property. So it was a good decision to act on it quickly with speed and just doing it and not sitting over it for too long. Yes, there were challenges. Again, a couple of some things that we had missed estimating. We didn't, like, for example, I think there was some problem with the windows which we had not contemplated too much. It was a fibro house, so the walls were so weak, like they were paper thin, which we again underestimated because there was a lot of trash in the property when we inspected. So there's always a slight amount of risk that you'll uncover something which you did not account for.
Yep.
But that's why you do your feasibilities and add those contingencies. So everything's everything's reachable, and you can fix that as long as there's a cost to it.
Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned then about the contingency. What sort of contingency do you allow for each project?
As you usually teach us to put around 10% of your total costs, I think in that one we did put around 10,000 of contingency.
So 10,000 contingency for the renovation budget?
Yes. And I wouldn't lie that yes, we did go over a little bit, but again, first project, you're bound to make these mistakes. And again, by the time, even when we were halfway through the renovation, I was pretty sure that we are going in the right direction and the end sale price would justify these extra costs.
Yeah, awesome. And so obviously you got a bit of uplift from the market on that first deal as well.
Yes.
So what were you initially estimating that sale price to be on that first deal?
I think the feasibility that I did was around the 400K mark.
And it sold for
465.
So you got an extra 65,000.
Not due to the market. Like if back in hindsight, like now I know the market really well. I had really underestimated the sale price. It would have been early 400s any day, even at the time of buying.
So you were just ultra conservative, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were just at the time there were no renovated comparables in that area because it's an old area, lots of old property. So there were no renovated things. So that's why it had to be very conservative on that one.
For sure. Any sort of advice that you'd give the old Vipul, the Vipul that hadn't done any deals? Would there be any advice that you'd give yourself after now completing, nearly 10 deals?
See, if I did these 10 deals, I also missed out on maybe 3 or 4 deals because I did not take the right decision at the time. So, again, trusting the process, doing things quickly, but also doing it right, not taking unnecessary risk. 1 or 2 deals that I did not do, I'm pretty happy that I did not do because there was a lot of uncertainty. And I selected a few bad people in my trade stream. So I probably wasn't, I did not know how to vet those trades initially as well as I can do now. And that's advice to just have your team know the area well, act with speed, and just focus and do it.
What's the biggest mistake that you've made on any project to date?
There was one project. It was our initial project, so I'm very happy that all those mistakes happened in that particular project, and it was our second or third deal, so pretty early in our flipping journey. The mistake that we did was we went overboard with our renovations, and yes, that's the advice. Actually, I should add that keep things simple. Just don't add your own personal touches just for the sake of it. See who your audience is and who are you selling for.
Would you say it's important to stick to the plan? Because I see a lot of property renovators or flippers where they know what they're doing, but then all of a sudden they settle, they're mid-renovation, and all of a sudden that emotion kicks in and they start, all of a sudden thinking that they're renovating the dream house, and then they start doing more elaborate things, spending more money. All of a sudden, that they've allowed that emotion get in and blow their budget.
Exactly what I did in that particular project. We ended up doing a 3x1 to a 4x2 conversion where it was not needed. The overall building area of that property wasn't apt for a 4x2. So that, again, I did not think that through at that time.
So you've essentially tried to cram too much into a small space.
Correct.
Okay, and then the market didn't appreciate that, or was it?
See, lots of things happen at once. So bad trades, over capitalizing, focusing on the renovation side too much, like putting those gold handles and everything for a medium market. It wasn't a fancy market, fancy suburb. It was okay-ish. Like we ended up spending extra 30-40 grand to do that conversion only to earn that extra 30-40 grand. So having that stress, dealing with those people, plus spending, having those extra holding costs just for nothing really. If we had done a simple renovation, just a cosmetic one for that one, I think our profit margins would have been way higher. that
Yeah.
we did. But again, you learn from your mistakes, and now whenever we take on a project, we are pretty sure what we're doing. With that.
Yeah, for sure. So would you agree then that sometimes just the most simple cosmetic renovations are better than the bigger
Absolutely.
structural renos when you start
Yes.
adding additional bathrooms and stuff like that? I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, if you add a bathroom, you can really get that extra uplift in the right location if it's the right house, right area. But sometimes, would you agree that the simpler projects are just often easier because you don't have the cost blowouts and
Correct. And because you also need to think it from a point of view, people get hung up on their profit margins that, okay, if I'll add an extra bedroom and extra bathroom, which I also did, that I may end up having extra 20, 30 grand, which is good. But it's also the time and effort that people forget. And if I had completed that project 2 months earlier, I would have freed up my time and energy to find another project, which is the opportunity cost that's there.
100%?
And one of the better projects, which was the first project this year, we did a 20K renovation, and still, I think the profit on that one was 60 plus, and within a month. So that felt so easy after a 120K renovation.
Yep.
And not even earning and earning half of that because we made some mistakes there.
Absolutely. And sometimes you could do two smaller deals in the time that it'll take you one bigger one.
Yeah.
And like you said, when it comes to that opportunity cost, if it's a simple deal, you can almost be completely removed from the project. But if it's a project that's just, demands a lot more of your time because there's more planning and all that sort of stuff, you're essentially, it's taking you away from essentially prospecting and finding more deals and adding to your pipeline and that sort of stuff.
So that's
the opportunity cost.
Yeah. So after first year, where we had like two massive deals, like massive profit margin deals, which were like unreal. This year, I made it a point that yes, the market is getting even tougher. So I need to appreciate that. I don't want to wait for those 100, 150, 200K margin deals rather than doing more deals as long as there's a minimum margin that I'm happy with. So I'm focusing on the quantity of deals that I'm doing this year, which also helps me maintain the momentum, which is so important in this game, plus having those relationships active. Because if you don't work with those trades for 3-4 months, they get busy, and I'm constantly engaging them and keeping myself busy, developing more relationships. Plus, every project teaches you something or the other. So after doing these many things, the newer project seems simpler.
Yeah, for sure. But you're obviously a master prospector. It's definitely one of your strengths. You source more deals than most. What's the trick for you? Are you sourcing these properties off market? Like, why is it that you're getting so many more deals than others?
Yeah, in my mind, there's no trick. It's constantly showing up. Even when you don't get deals, there are phases where I don't get deals for weeks, a month or two. But again, trying every single day, showing up, keeping in touch with the agents, reminding them that you're still active in the market, is just doing it with a lot of persistence, constantly. I think that's the trick. There's just no rocket science to it, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what you've just said then basically comes back to that mindset thing where you're playing the numbers game, so you're not getting upset when you miss out on a deal. For you know that's just part of the process. You're going to miss a lot more deals than you get, but you just know that as long as you play the numbers game, eventually stuff's going to stick. Eventually stuff's going to fall on your lap. So you're just relentless at doing everything. So, chasing the off market, speaking to the agents, doing letterbox shops, but, looking at homes on the market. So you're just doing everything, covering all bases, and essentially stuff's gonna.
Yeah, and when I was new, I was getting disappointed when I was missing out on deals, and that's human nature. So that's when you learn with time. That's where you need a lot of practice and just not do one and then take time off, because then you're as good as new. In fact, yesterday I was speaking to a sales agent, and I I had that compliment, and he told me that, oh, you've been trying for so long, and you've been speaking to me, and I can see you are trying more than many other people. So there you go. I'll give you a first opportunity to take a look at this property before I present it to someone else. That's all it takes.
And that's a relationship, right? Like that agent, he's obviously respected the effort that you've put in, and he's rewarded you for that.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's all about it. And making those great relationships. It's not just picking the phone and saying that, oh, what's the property that you're working on, or etc. Just saying hello, getting to know them, and just having casual chats. They're human. They get inundated with calls all the time. So having something different so that they'll remember you.
Yeah.
It's all about these human relationships.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. You obviously talk about having a pipeline, and you're obviously delivering multiple projects in a year. So how are you filling your pipeline? How are you, essentially delivering so many projects? Obviously, you've got the team, you've got project managers that are, essentially doing that for you. But have you got a strategy behind, like, in order for me to deliver X amount of projects, I need to be, I need to have this many in the pipeline. I need to, like, have you got that sort of mapped out?
Yeah, how I think of it is, see, when I had my first deal, it was that first deal. Before that first deal ended, I had the second deal under contract and a third deal very soon. So it's been a habit since pretty much the early stages of this flipping journey that I've been managing multiple deals. How I've been doing is dealing with multiple project managers. So there's no one set of trades or team or project manager that I'm working with. There are multiple now. And with time, when I was very, I would I would say, comfortable and knowledgeable of one area, I started expanding to another area. So I've picked a few clusters in that city where um, I'm spending most of my time and energy on. And in those clusters, I have multiple teams. So I can have two different projects with absolutely different trades and team, which who are not talking to each other and they're running in parallel. So that's the strategy that, and if I want to have another area that now I know that how can I find a project manager, again, speaking to so many people, having those recommendations, seeing their work. So I don't mind even working with 5 different project managers at once if that's needed.
My biggest takeaway from what you just said then, and obviously being remote, you've got to do this anyway, but it's that whole delegation thing, right? So basically, essentially, you're offloading everything to, multiple teams essentially to deliver the projects. Yeah. So what would you say to the people that are listening who are thinking, oh, I can't renovate a house because I'm not handy, or something along those lines? What would you say to someone like that?
It's sometimes sometimes it works in your favor if you're not handy, because then you don't have your opinion on it and you just get the professional to do the job rather than advising them, do this, do that. And keeping it simple. It is possible. I'm an IT worker. I have done it. There are many other students who are not handy who are doing it very well. So
I'm not handy either.
So there you go. So there's no reason why anyone cannot do it. You just need to spend the time and not sit on the sidelines for too long, but take the action.
For sure. I sometimes say that almost being handy is almost a bad thing, because I see too many tradespeople that try and take control of the project, and they don't want to let another tradie on site because they're not going to do it how they want it done, or they don't want to let another tradie on site because it's going to cost them money. When really they should be thinking, I might spend more money on the renovation because I'm paying more for trades, more for labor. But that time that it's freeing me up means that, one, I can go prospect and get more deals and therefore deliver more deals in a year. But it also means that I'm going to have a quicker time frame and I'm going to be able to get to market. Because if I'm doing the whole renovation myself, I'm not going to be able to do multiple things at once. Therefore, the renovation timeline is going to take longer, and therefore it's going to take longer to get to market, more holding costs. So what would you say in relation to that?
I've seen so many people reach out to me after seeing my name in the group who want to join the course, or who have joined the course and then they're new starters, and they have great experience with project management, being a tradie, being a carpenter, being a builder, and they're like that, okay, I don't, that's not a problem for me. I have the trades, or I can do the work. But I always remind them that how much money you'll save. And you also need to respect and value your own time that you'll be doing the work. how much it'll be 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, how much you'll save at the end of the day. And that's the cost of, if you land up one extra deal, that'll more than cover it, probably double or triple it, that the time and money that you'll save it. And that's it. Delegation is a key part. If someone's listening and they want to start flipping, that you have to learn to delegate. That is very crucial. And your time must be spent in finding new deals and filling that pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you make a good point there. All right, what I wanted to ask you about is your best deal today. So talk to me about that project. Where was the best deal that you've done? So when I'm talking about your best deal, your highest profit.
The best deal was it came through a letter drop in Perth, and it had the most profit, but it also how the whole process went about is also, looking back in hindsight, gives me a lot of confidence and pride. That's how we handled it. Uh, an old man who was an alcoholic, just sitting in trash in his house. The house was all trashed, and there were rat feces in the house. And people who went to inspect for me, they said that they can't even smell. They don't even want to smell anything, and they can't even breathe.
This house was just unlivable.
Unlivable. No one can step in. The yard was overgrown. It took weeks and weeks of yard cleanup for us, and every day we would find something new in the yard because it was all hidden. It was all overgrown, and he had no money to go away. He was just drinking alcohol all the time, and he wanted to. I think there were some bad memories of his family, which was not exactly sure of, but he wasn't too comfortable sharing that, so I did not push him to tell me that what happened. But he was, I could see he was kind of depressed, and he needed the money to get out, most likely, I think, live with his mom or buy a caravan. And I ended up paying an early deposit to him so that he could help. Ended up helping him move, even got some of my own labor and trades to help him pack and clean up the mess which he made. And
so basically you created a bit of a win-win by essentially releasing some money early prior to settlement so that we had some money to be able to pack up and go, but you also got some of your team to help him shift as well.
Yes, and releasing that money and being flexible around him, that what's your settlement, rather than people sometimes say, oh, I can do an early settlement, but you should ask that, does the seller want an early settlement? Just being flexible with your terms, and it's not just about the price and how you can create that that creative offer that will help both the buyer and seller in this case. So he was pretty happy with it, that I was helping him out. He left loads of rubbish for me to clean up, but again, that was part of the deal. I was holding him accountable to the contract, that you'll do everything, because I could clearly see he's not capable enough at that time to do it. So that was that. I think when we finished the renovation, there was the buyers loved it. It was a first home buyer bought it, so I'm sure they're loving it right now.
So what did you pay for that project?
$330,000.
$330,000, and then the renovation?
Massive renovation. I think it was almost $130K.
$130K.
Almost $130K.
And what did you sell that property for?
We sold it for $740,000.
$740,000. Okay. So what was your profit after all your purchase costs, after all your holding costs, after selling costs? What was your profit on that deal?
We made over $200,000 over it. I think it was close to 220 ish. 220, yeah.
220,000 would replace most people's income for the year. So that must have been a pretty good feeling when you nailed that.
It was amazing. I think 215, 220. Don't get me wrong. It's been a while. So, but it was just great. Again, we spent a lot on the renovation. It was a massive renovation, but in the end, there was a huge interest at the home open. I think 30 groups through the first home open. We even ended up canceling the weekend one. There was so much interest, so we were pretty happy with the results.
Yeah, awesome. We obviously spoke about that win-win with that owner. I just wanted to touch on how often you think the terms matter and not just the price. Because obviously, as property flippers, we're trying to buy properties that are under market value, right? Like typically, typically speaking, to make the numbers work, we normally have to buy really well, so below market value. And the way that we can do that is, okay, well, if we can't give the seller the highest price, sometimes we've got to, what terms can we offer that are going to be attractive to them? So, I mean, me personally, I've done things like, long settlement, short settlement, I've released funds early, they've had banks coming at them. I've paid down debt, bank debt and all that sort of stuff. We've had students in the program, release funds early so they can, get an aeroplane ticket and go interstate. We help with things like, removing all the rubbish or all the furniture. They, you can take what you want, you can leave everything else behind. We've had students, release funds early so that way they can buy a caravan. We've had students, allow them to stay in the property for a couple of months extra so that way they can, rent free, for example, after settlement, so they can maybe go and buy a caravan and, in order to travel around the country. How important is it to be able to, find that motivation for them to sell, and therefore create essentially problem solve and create a solution to their problem? How important do you think those terms are in order to getting a deal over the line?
I think the best deal comes from where you have these flexible terms and a creative offer. Terms are, I would say, more important sometimes than the price. See, the price is pretty black and white. You do your numbers, you do your calculations. There's a walkaway price that you need to stick to. That's what we learn. But with the terms, that you'll find that on the go when the deal is actually happening. And as you said, all these examples that you mentioned, I totally agree with them. And even my best deals have come through these creative terms. Yes, it gets a bit challenging when an agent is involved to offer these terms. But again, it is possible. When dealing with an agent, again, we should always probe them, ask them what the seller situation is, what are they looking for, a shorter settlement, longer settlement, any money releasing, or any sort of that sort of stuff. But when you're dealing with the seller directly, that's even more important. Right now, I don't have that deal, but I'm speaking to a seller, and they're looking for a property to move in elsewhere in a bit of a regional area, but the market is so hot, and they can't sell the property until they find one. I'm actually helping them find a property.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of effort for me. If
Is it a property to buy or property to rent?
Buy.
Okay.
Don't buy. So I'm making agent relationships in an area which I don't even know.
To help them buy the property.
To help them buy the property. And I'm not even sure it will go through or not. But there's no harm trying. Like, what will happen in the worst case? I'll not find the property, or they won't sell it to me. But I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to help them out.
So essentially, if you've obviously must have agreed on a price, and if they can find the property where they want to go to, then essentially you're going to get a good payday from this property flip. Yeah. So for you, you're prepared to do a little bit of work in helping them find that property to move to in order for you to land the deal.
Correct. And again, there's nothing written between us, and it may happen, it may not happen. But again, treating it as a numbers game. If one doesn't happen, the next one would happen. And just, I know that I'm not doing the wrong thing. If anything else, I'm trying to be nice and do the right thing for them and helping them out. I can see that it's pretty difficult for an average person to buy a property in a hot area where there's not much available. So
because you've got that skill set of buying property and all the rest of it, buying off market and all that sort of stuff, you're using your skill set, how you find property, to essentially find them a property as well. So you're essentially acting as their buyer's agent.
I am.
and then the result will be that you'll essentially could land their property.
Correct. Always hope for the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Money Partners obviously has been massive for you. So talk to me about the relationships that you've built since being in the program with Money Partners in our wider community.
Yeah. See, Money Partners is one reason why these number of deals have happened, for sure. And as I said, it has been one of the key takeaways from the course. And I've found all my money partners through this community, be it the close community of the students group or the open Facebook group. That's that's it. That's all the money partners that I've had. I have
How many money partners do you reckon you've had so far in total?
more than 10, definitely. I think closer to 15 now. So it's not uncommon for me to work with 3 to 4 money partners per deal, and so with the number of deals sometimes because they are they're working with me, so they can't invest in my new deal naturally because their money is stuck with me at the time.
For sure.
So I have to reach out to new money partners. Again, it only takes a couple of deals for you to have that brand and have that name that you're doing the right thing and someone can trust with the money. And everything's written. It's all in an agreement.
It's all drawn up by solicitors.
Correct.
You got a loan agreement. There's security in place for the money partner. So everything's above board.
Yes.
How important do you think it is? Like, obviously, when you started out, you had no experience, right? And you managed to get, money partners on your first deal and your second deal. But obviously, you've built your reputation, like you said, you've built your brand. How important is that? I mean, how easy is it for you to get money now in the community?
See, it's like, I don't even want to say it, but I'm in a very grateful and a fortunate situation where some people do reach out to me now, being trying to be a money partner, which again
So you've got people now. You haven't even got a deal. You're not even advertising for a deal.
No.
But you have people reaching out to you because you're Vipul, because everyone knows how active and how successful you've been. Yeah. But people are now now essentially contacting you and saying, "Hey, do you need money?"
Yeah, that's it. And their motivations are different. Some people want to learn by shadowing someone like me, or they just have their money lying vacant and they want to invest with someone who's more trustworthy, has a track record. And I treat all my money partners equally. Like, if someone's giving me a 50,000 or 200,000 or even more, that they're trusting me with their money. That's a lot of responsibility, and it's just treating equally everyone with the respect, and yes, keep doing the right thing, not being too picky with a couple of things, and when it comes to the payout, and just being flexible and having that relationship. Understanding the importance of the relationship is more important, because that's what will enable you to do multiple deals at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. How about that first deal and that first money partner? Obviously, that was a whole, and most people, like, their biggest hesitation with getting started is that blockage. Like, no one's going to want to invest in my deal, or how, is it hard to get a money partner and all the rest of it? What would you say to that? Like, what was your experience, and what would you say to people who are, essentially needing their first money partner?
Yes, my first money partner was again, first deal, first money partner, very special, great guy. I'm yet to meet him, and he has worked with me in multiple deals. He almost acted like a mentor to me in that deal, because he has done a lot of developments and flips himself, and he bet his money on me. So there was a lot of trust and accountability my part, and I was already in touch with him before even I got the deal, because when we were new in the program, I was trying to reach out to a few money partners, just saying hello, that I've joined this course and I'm actively looking and would love to work with you, and stuff like that. I ended up speaking to a few people. One of them was him, and we ended up chatting. So we ended up speaking over the phone for a couple of hours and just discussing our own journeys, property investing journeys, and what he does, what I'm doing. Ended up telling my background with a few investment properties that I've done and what am I doing. I'm keeping a pulse on the market that this is happening. So he felt confident that I know what I'm doing. It's just the lack of experience in the space. And when I got my first deal, I reached out to him. I was in two minds at the time. Should I go to the bank? I actually was able to go to the bank for that one. But he said that no, he reviewed the deal and he said that no, it's a pretty good deal. You're probably underestimating your numbers, but and that just went right. He was the sole money partner for that deal. He ended up funding the purchase price and the stamp duty and legal costs, and even some partially the renovation as well. And I funded the rest.
Unbelievable. It's funny, right? Because I actually sat in a podcast studio with another one of the OGs in the program, which was Jason, and we were having a chat. Obviously, Jason's been doing really well, and he turned around and said to me, he's like, he goes, I just can't believe how good Vipul is going. He's like, I remember on the coaching calls when we first started, some of the questions he was asking, because obviously you did not come from a building background at all. And obviously coming from an IT background, not being handy. He's obviously a tradie, so, it's more obviously familiar to him. But he was just like, so to see what he's done and how far he's come, he was just like, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, Jason is wonderful. We've flipped a few properties in the same area, and I've picked his brains in the past, and even he was kind enough even to see one of the properties for me to help with something and suggest a few trades. And I've met him as well when I came
at the
there.
event in Perth.
Yeah. So he's one. But again, my questions were, you can say stupid, simple, whatever, but it's better to ask than assume.
100%. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, and that's one of the things I always say on coaching calls is like, no question is a stupid question, because everyone's starting from a different starting point. So, if you don't ask the questions, then essentially you're not going to get the answers that you need, right? So, I mean, hats off to you there. But, mate, $900,000 profit in less than 2 years. What is next? What's the future for Vipul?
Oh, future is, see, the first 2 years have been great. I don't want to take things lightly. Yes, I do want to take a bit of break. It's been a massive year, which we'll be doing next month, just going back home for a few weeks and recharging ourselves. But we want to come back stronger and continue the momentum and not break it, and maintaining getting the number of deals and filling the pipeline, I think, is the key priority. So yes, if things have gone good till now, but we want to maintain that, and if not, in fact, increase that.
And how many deals have you done since starting? So in 2 years, how many deals have you done?
Around 10 flips and a couple of buy and holds.
And a vast majority of those have been this year, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So how many did you do in your first year?
Since starting, 10 have been this year, and last year 4. So almost 40.
Okay. So 4 last year in your first year, and then 10 this year.
Yes.
So 14 deals.
Yeah.
Wow. So 14 deals, about 950,000 in profit. Okay. All right. Awesome. What would you say to anyone that's listening and that's thinking, I want to replicate what Vipul's done?
Get educated. That's the first thing. But then after doing the education, just don't sit on the sidelines for too long. Taking the action is the most important thing. You'll make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Like, some people don't say it, but everyone's making mistakes, which is fine. Some mistakes are smaller, some are bigger. But if you've done your feasibilities, if you've done your numbers right, and you can allow for those mistakes, rather than not waiting for that moment to go in with all the knowledge and executing it perfectly. But even if you know that you're doing 80% of it right, everything else can be learned on the go. Awesome,
mate. Vipul, because of the success you've had, obviously I brought you on into the program as a coach. You're 14 deals deep into your flipping career, so you're a seasoned, successful property flipper now. What have been the learnings for you in that? Like, and how have you enjoyed coaching and helping others?
Oh, yes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Again, I didn't think that I would be guiding other people and new students, but it gives you that good feel factor, and trying to help them with really basic questions. Which, again, as you said, that there's no question that's stupid, but people are apprehensive. And because I don't come from a trade background, I'm flipping remotely, and I think a lot of people relate to it, so they don't mind sharing those so-called stupid questions and asking them, then how did you go about it? And the questions are more than technical. It's again more on the mindset, that how do I think about it? How do I go about it on a daily basis? And it's a very good feeling to guide someone. And if I can help someone find a deal, that's then I can at least understand how you would feel, and you're helping so many students.
Awesome, mate. Vipul, mate, thanks for coming on. Thanks for having a chat. yeah, 14 deals, 10 deals this year. I know that $950,000 profit that we mentioned is ultra conservative, but and you're probably going to do a fair bit more than that. So well done, mate. Congratulations, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks for inviting me, Graham. Cheers.